All right, hello. We should be live. Let's go ahead and wait a couple of seconds, check if we actually are live. All right, starting off right with some sneezes. That's a great way to go. All right, hey everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. We are doing, we're playing a bit of catch up. So I've got tomorrow's Vision of Mana stream recorded, or episode recorded. Just haven't gotten the whatchamacallit. Haven't gotten it rendered, haven't gotten it uploaded. So that's something we still need to fix. Let's this guy going. I hope everyone's doing well. We've got... Let's make sure things are actually recording properly. Oh no. What do you mean starting soon? What do you mean starting soon? We've already started. Odyssey. How about we just turn off Odyssey? I'll hop back in here, paste the new RTMP key, and start streaming from here. Oh, and let's maybe fire up social stream. So, no. Go and Twitch and Kick and Rumble and Odyssey. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. And let's do a quick chat test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Stream element is there. That's what we like to see. YouTube, good. It got the right one from YouTube. That's also good. All right. Cool. Let's get that out of the way, and just a couple more things on my end, and we are good to go. you're in the chat, feel free to say hi. If not, well, obviously you can't hear me, so. No, 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 no. All right. That's looking good. All right. That's all good. Get that out of the way. Get my computer glasses. Ah, very good. Okay. So, let's fire a few things. All right, and we can get rid of Mr. Hubble. Q. So yeah, here's my massive backlog of streaming stuff that I've done. Still need to get that a Data Live Spirit Pledge video from back in 2021 uploaded at some point. Maybe for the 4-year anniversary, uploaded for May 28th. That'd probably be a nice blast from the past. All right. In the meantime, we've got Visions of Mana stuff to at least rename, since that's the first part of the thing. Also, sorry, I'm gonna hide my screen for a second. Pull up an entire galaxy. As I remember, there was one thing I wanted to check here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We are half an hour of streaming away from joining the Rumble Creator Program. That should be fun. Looking forward to that bit. Also, for some frickin' reason, I had 2,000 views on March 20th, whereas normally I have between 50 and 300. So I have no idea what happened on March 20th. Actually, let's take a look what happened on March 20th. My content, March 20th, that would have been 17 days ago. So let's see what shows up here 17 days ago. We'll be at 2 weeks. Views, and let's see, something should hopefully blow up for me here at the 2-week mark. Here's 20, 60, 143, not bad. Oh, no, that's already past it. Huh. Weird. Maybe, no, auto syndication work? Stats and analytics, maybe legacy? We'll do it. Last 30 days. Yeah, but the view count just blew up, but earnings aren't anything special. So it was March 20th. So, yeah. Earnings were basically in line. Whoa, yeah. Yeah, raw views were 2,000, unique views 1,000. But whoever was viewing me with ad blockers because it filled 14 ads that day. Whereas on a different day, I had 189 raw views, 52 ad eligible, 87 unique views, and 38 ads were filled. Literally made double what my record view was. Okay, sure. But anyway, we're looking at the dashboard. After today's stream, we will be making some claim or applying to the program. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get you pulled up and let's hide my privacy screen. So yeah, this is Visions of Mana 91. Visions of Mana 91, and that is what we will be releasing tomorrow. So actually, since we will be, let's just fire up Shotcut right now. And we can at least have that thing start rendering. Oh, actually, even more before that, let me get the privacy screen back up. Top up here, go to x.com. What's happening? Oh, we got a notification. Probably something silly. Yeah, Toxic Gamer liked my post. Cool. Cool. Oh yeah, because you're one of those spammers that just get people to um buy followers. Yeah, we don't do that. That's bad. Straining myself, doing some editing, rendering, some editing and rendering of gameplay videos, and also recording, editing, and rendering some #HFY narrations. Come hang out if you want. And let's get some links. So yeah, and random stuff, bad news, my phone fell face down this morning, hit the edge of a tile. The screen is completely shattered. Like, there's nothing surviving that thing. The phone still works, because I've still been getting phone calls, I've still been getting, whatchamacallit, getting phone calls, getting alerts, getting notifications, so the phone itself works, just nothing on the screen does. It still takes input. I can feel the tactile feedback that it's taken my touches. Just nothing's showing up on screen. It's completely broken. Fortunately, there is a place local to here that does fix stuff like that, so hopefully we can get that fixed easily. That does remind me, I do want to go into Crush. And I can hide the screen for a second. One of the things we do over on the gaming channel. Except you never see me coming in and hopping in, grabbing the daily events, and leaving. You always see me play, so yeah. That's something new. Let's get back in here. Project, Visions of Mana, VOM 91, and I may as well change that to 1080p 60 since that's what we're going to be doing. And VOM 91. And this is how lame my editing for gaming stuff is. Sometimes I have an introduction, and that's when we're doing Archipelago stuff with Zappa and Steve, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, and don't need to trim anything off the end, and boom, drop it into my rendered Visions of Mana folder, and there it goes. And that thing can go ahead and render while my my poor computer deals with the strain. I can at least let the cooler work a little more. Leave that up. And get you pulled up. Let's go ahead and start editing. That was another full and successful episode. Good. That is VOM 92. That's another successful episode recorded. Yes. And the next one after this is where my computer crashed. So let's go ahead and get you set as VOM 93. 293, perfect. And this is the one that crashed. This is the one that crashed. Yep. We were playing the ground area, and boom, crashed right in the middle of playing it. So, shift delete that. We do not want you. And that'll be a 94. Yep. VOM 94. VOM 95 and VOM 96. Perfect. So VOM 95 and VOM 96. And while Shotcut is working on rendering that for the next 22 minutes, which I may pause when we finally get around to rendering stuff, we at least can go to the calendar, and yeah, this is the state of my project. Not looking good. It should be looking a little bit more like, well, not necessarily this. You can see where I screwed stuff up, but here. Back in February to March. This is what a proper release schedule looks like. We got Space Crusader on Mondays. We've got Troublemakers on Wednesdays. We've got random HFY one-shots on Fridays. We have Visions of Mana Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We have Arusu Install Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we have either Crush or Super Robot Wars on Saturdays. But we haven't had Super Robot Wars in over a year. So it doesn't really count. It's pretty much just Crush Saturdays. Anyway, yeah, you can see stuff happened. We did not get the release for the 28th done. Space Crusader 7 was supposed to be released on the 31st. It got released on the 3rd. At least it got released. Troublemakers was supposed to release on the 2nd. That was the one thing that was actually on time. And the 28th, a Friday release, was supposed to be released on the 4th, and it wasn't released on the 4th. However, it is recorded, so I can at least change that up to a yellow, which is the color that I use here for stuff that's recorded but not yet rendered or uploaded. And that is Teaching Cat Girls. So at least we have one thing on there. But most importantly, since we are up to 96, and that is 90, yes. That means we got 2 full weeks of Visions of Mana recorded. For gaming stuff, I use tasks instead of events. So that is going to be VOM 91. Tasks. VOM 92. Task. VOM 93. Tasks. VOM 94. Tasks. VOM 95. And tasks VOM 96. Okay. So yeah, my gaming channel is at least recorded out to the 18th. That means we're going to be doing some Crush next. But yeah, that might have a change of plans until I get my phone back. I could stream from my old phone once Sad Panda actually copies over my save file. Until they do, yeah, not likely to happen. Okay. So that much at least is good. Yeah, we probably continue on that. Let's fire up GIMP. And get back in here and Visions of Mana 91. Let's see if we can get some nice scenery coming in here. Oh, yeah, Deft Chido. Oh, I know one more thing. Let me pull up Hubble. Is it in Word? Yes, it is Word. Ooh. Wait. No. Okay, that is annoying. I missed one thing. I missed the Scorched Pavlov, and I even know roughly where it is. Okay, we fought him once before. He's weak to crushing, and he's weak to wind, of all things. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Now let me get Hubble turned off. So we fought off this guy in Arvid's pasture. And we fought off the extant Myazopia. Boom. Only 8 pages of bosses left. Now this is a lie because there is still the Benevodon of Wood, and this guide conveniently ignores the Benevodon of Wood. And we need to get the Benevodon of Wood before we can get to the Benevodon of Fire. Yeah. That's chapter 8 stuff. That's chapter... Is there no chapter 9? Chapter 8? Yeah. And then goes straight to chapter 10 with Avzalava and Black Rabbite. Okay. Whatever. Should be interesting. Yeah, so apparently just that's the last nemesis left. We need to backtrack to Zawak Desert next time we play. Cool. Save that. Let me pull up Hubble once again. Space Crusader, yeah, we're just gonna go with blank pages. Actually, sorry, one more thing. I want to make sure I don't have anything here pulled up. I do. Okay. Now we can unhide Hubble. This is a great story. The factory must grow. Love reading it. Don't have permission from the author to narrate it. Not that they denied, I just haven't asked yet. So yes, highly recommend you read it. I'm not going to read it on stream. We are going to go to Space Crusader number 8, which is the finale. See how long all this is. Boom. Back into Word. And it is going to give us... Come on. Why you gotta do that to me? View, multiple pages, and zoom right back in. We want 100% zoom. That's what we want to see. 8 pages. Okay, cool. This will probably be about a 20-minute long video, most likely. Okay, that is what's bugging me. Angolans. Angolans. Yes, they're Angolans, not Angolans. Angolan, only 2. Next issue. Angolan. And now it switches back and forth between Angolan and Angolan. Single Angolan. Angolan. Angolan, Angolan. Angolan, Angolan. Angolan, Angolan, and suddenly it's all Angolan. Alright, well. I'll leave it Angolans, I guess. Okay. Yeah, see? Angolans, we've already added Angolan, so we'll add that to the dictionary. Williams. I don't know. Come on, I clicked on you. Self-preservation. Standard procedure, Azael responded with a tone. As if it was simple common knowledge. Disappointed. Self-preservation. Nearby is a single word. Falling, scuffle, and fall were nanofilament, single L. Angolan. As you heard, rocks tumble to his head, comma. That is a semicolon. Yep. Hitting himself, comma. Just hoping that by doing so, he'd come to a conclusion. Xenobiologist, not xenobiologist. Zadel found himself struggling to move back, but as his senses managed to return to him, he started properly backpedaling to put distance between himself and the native. William wasn't phased, it's a different spelling. Realization. Nor gushing blood now dripping down the side of his head. His hands grabbed at the rail pistol. The red claws sinking into Zadil's hands. I have a hatred of the conditional tense when that's not what they mean. Space Command to Private Zadel. We nearly won. How about now? There. Ion. Azael listened, and her golden eyes kept staring at the live feed before looking about the cockpit, unfocused as if staring at a visible horizon. In contemplation. The irises moved as her pupils focused with realization. And still they watched. Recommended his note-taking. Recommenced his note-taking. Also instructing the ship's systems throughout the console to record all the suit's data. It's forcing the suit to match its neural impulses instead of reading its body's biometric parameters. The synthetic heart is pumping blood so fast through its veins, it had to reinforce the main arteries with extra nanofilament, but it can't keep up. The damage is being done all over the venous system at once. Muscle oxygenation has peaked, internal body temperature rising. It has natural cooling systems, but they would fail without suit assistance. Okay, that's a correct use of wood. As the two engaged in this visual contest of wills, Dangalon was the first to break. Zadel stepped back as any person would, encountering a predator. Zadel found himself struggling to move back, but as his senses managed to return to him, he started properly backpedaling to put some distance between himself and the native. This retreating movement would pause and resume. It's correct. As the Anglon soldier okay, fine. This movement paused and resumed as the Anglon soldier stopped to shoot before continuing backwards. His head, his forearm diagonally placed in front of his face. Period. da, do, do. Oh, nothing quite like being tired. Oh. Oh. Well, may as well get Audacity pulled up. Change you. Oh, has it? Has this thing finished rendering? It took me that long? Yeah. It took me that freaking long just to do the edits and to complain about stuff that we actually got Visions of Mana all finished rendering. Cool. And we got rid of the Deft Chido. And we had that moon dungeon. Alright, that is a promising candidate. That's actually not a bad choice either if we can get a good view of it. And that's not a bad choice. How's this one look instead? Maybe. Yeah. I guess for 91, this'll have to do. The other option is this versus this. You know what? No, this looks better. And let's at least move Visions of Mana logo a little further over. We prefer to block the UI and not the background. Edit. 91 filters. Long shadow. Filters. Drop shadow. Whoops. Nope. I accidentally saved instead of hitting save as. generate the thumbnail. I guess re-narrate. Oh. Alright, back to the privacy screen for 1 second. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right. Gonna hit the restroom, then get back here, then we start narrating. This doesn't look too crazy of an episode like they sometimes turn out to be. And uploading obviously will be done after the stream is over, because it would be absolutely silly of me to try uploading while streaming, because that's just gonna fight for my limited upload bandwidth. It's not like I've got gigabit upload speeds, which frankly would be amazing, but they don't have them where I live. So, no fiber for me, no ultra fast cable, no gigabit cable for me either. Good. Privacy screen's up. Back in a second. See you then. Okay. It seems like it's filtering out the fans. That's good. My laptops are being annoyingly loud right now, so it's always good to not have to worry about that particular. I've been streaming for an hour already. Oh, that's no fun. All right, let's get to it. Recording in progress. Come on, let's turn it on. Actually, perfect. There we go. Now people know that I'm not just ignoring them, just focusing on recording. So less chat interaction. Lucan had been observing this whole time. Observing. Had been observing the events unfolding at the location where his assistant was this whole time. Although the viewing had to be done from their native allies' perspective, it all proved too valuable and insightful to pass up. It comprised mainly of a pilot, 2 medics, and 3 infantry soldiers. 2 out of the latter had quickly departed using a land vehicle that had been brought with them, most likely to fulfill the orders given by Ogden. Yeah, Azael is the captain of the science vessel, so that's right. Can't confuse her with Asheen. Yep, and right there, Asheen. Azael and Asheen. I'll close the window while recording. Get a little bit less ambient sound picked up. Lucan had been observing the events unfolding at the location where his assistant was this whole time. Although the viewing had to be done from their native allies' perspective, it all proved too valuable and insightful to pass up. The rescue team had arrived at their crash site a while back, comprised mainly of a pilot, 2 medics, and 3 infantry soldiers. 2 out of the latter had quickly departed using a land vehicle that had been brought with them, most likely to fulfill the orders given by Ogden. While the xenobiologists kept taking notes on his datapad, while the xenobiologist kept taking notes on his datapad in the crashed ship's cockpit, Azael entered the various While the xenobiologist kept taking notes on his datapad in the crashed ships. While the xenobiologist kept taking notes on his datapad in the crashed ship's cockpit, Azael entered, the various wounds on her body now closed up using the biofoam that stimulates cell repair. While the xenobiologist kept taking notes on his datapad in the crashed ship's cockpit, Azael entered, the various wounds on her body now closed up using the biofoam that stimulates cell repair. They are now tending to Gabel, the 2 that took off to retrieve Asheen. They had standard kits and were armed with rail rifles. You really think this native, William, might really be able to take them? Huh? I hoped your manic bouts would have finished by now, but you were either always this delusional or only now did it get worse. You've come to me once more to... what? Insult me more than you usually do? The wager has been made, regardless. Retracting myself now is not an option. It is either a chance at winning, or surrender for an immediate loss. Regardless, the data we are collecting right now is invaluable. Why can we not backtrack? Insult me more than you... You've come here to... what? Insult me more than you usually do? The wager has been made, regardless. Retracting myself now is not an option. It is either a chance at winning, or surrender for an immediate loss. Regardless, the data we are collecting right now is invaluable, both from the point of view of my usual studies and... other interests. Lucan said coldly as he watched the live feed, seeing the native as Ashin communicated with it using illustrations it could understand, and then preceding the evacuation results. Other interests? You might as well spell it out. Military interests was clearly one of the first things that popped to your mind. You haven't been hiding that at all before. Azael continued as she leaned herself against one of the cockpit walls, arms crossed. You think that'd be the only one? Expectable. Grunt with a grunt of you. Oh, I do envy the simpler ways of thinking. You think that'd be the only one? Expectable. Grunt with a grunt of you. Oh, I do envy the simpler ways of living, Lucan said with a chuckle, as he multitasked between dishing out insults and keeping up with the recording. Azael, being extremely annoyed with that demeaning statement, was about to give Lucan a less polite piece of her mind, until a loud slapping noise came from the recording. The two Angelons then witnessed the unfolding scene between William and Godwin. It just gave a piece of the suit to that one in the form of a weapon after slapping it? Azael asked, confused, yet curious. I've been keeping track of chemicals its body releases into its own system. Until now, a large amount of it was adrenaline and cortisol. But it seems ever since it got here, endorphins and dopamine have been trickling in. The information from Ashin did not help with reducing the levels of the first. Based on its brain activity involving the hippocampus at this moment, might be someone close to it from its past. Interesting, Lucan mumbled as he kept on tapping away at notes. Lucan mumbled as he kept on tapping away at his notes. What's so damn interesting to you? The fact that a piece of the suit now needs to be retrieved at a later date? That we'll be interfering more? Azael grumbled, exasperated at this point by the mess that this whole operation had become. You realize all the research we had been doing until now was from a relative distance, yes? Always putting precaution and not risking... You realize all the research we have been doing until now was from a relative distance, yes? Always putting precaution. You realize all the research we had been doing until now was from a relative distance, yes? Always putting precaution and not risking altering the course of how their world works, right? Well, the moment we crashed and William came to the impact area, even if we like it or not, we will now be a part of this world, even if momentarily. Plus, now I can observe from a much better point of view, from that of a being that lived its whole life here. Looking exclaimed. Plus, now I can observe from a much better point of view, from that of a being that lived its whole life here, Lucan exclaimed with excitement in his voice. Is there anything major to even learn from this? What is there to gain from observation of, I don't know what to call their designation running about, an attempt at an evacuation? Azael said while staring at the screen herself. The fact they even know how to do one is impressive. Have you watched closely? William's first concern was not how to strategize against... The fact that they even know how to do one is impressive. Have you watched closely? William's first concern was not how to strategize against the enemy, or go to fight them, but under the impression of fighting stronger enemies, it chose to instead help the others at this location to escape via hidden routes already built into the place. Not only that, but it gave part of the armor to one of them, one it seems to have a close relationship with, possibly familial. Do you get it? Do you understand the potential we are seeing here? Azael listened, and her golden eyes kept staring at the live feed before looking about the cockpit, unfocused, as if staring at a Azael listened, and her golden eyes kept staring at the live feed before looking about the cockpit, unfocused, as if staring at a visible horizon. Azael listened, and her golden eyes kept staring at the live feed before looking about the cockpit, unfocused, as if staring at a visible horizon in contemplation. The irises moved as her pupils focused with a realization. Previous research we had confirmed their brutality, their religious belief, and generalized information on social hierarchies they had, as well as the most commonly met behaviors. But all of that focused on the bigger picture, on how things at large are, Azael said, trying to verbalize her thoughts. Yes, we've been thinking of them as primitive and barbaric when looking from a distance, but how exactly are they in close personal situations? This is the first time we see it properly. I have a myriad of observations written down based solely on the... I have a myriad of observations written down based solely on... all of that focused on the bigger picture. All of that focused on the bigger picture, on how things at large are, Azael said, trying to... Yes! Go? Yes! We've been thinking of them as primitive and barbaric when looking from a distance. But how exactly are they in close personal situations? This is the first time we see it properly. I have a myriad of observations written down based solely on their way of interacting with one another. The fact that William is prioritizing the other's safety over gaining a better chance at fighting by using increased numbers. Did you notice that some were unwilling to leave it behind? Without speaking, simply by analyzing body language and reading the situation. They were opposing leaving. They knew a threat much stronger than them was coming, yet some were willing to stand against it. What do our soldiers do whenever we have a dire situation on the battlefield? Lucan said as the fervor of his speech dimmed into a shamed tone. Units prioritize mission completion and life preservation. It's standard procedure, Azael responded with a tone, as if it were simple common knowledge. Erroneous. Our units prioritize individual self-preservation, and even mission completion is secondary based on a case study datasheet I've read about. What is ironic is that statistically working together should increase overall survival in most scenarios, or a minor sacrifice could mitigate a major loss. These are all things discussed between our war analysts, Lucan said as he turned to make eye contact with Azael, his expression somewhat disappointed. So what? You want someone to lay their life willingly? Or to go into a suicide mission? So what? You want someone to lay their life willingly? Or to go into suicide missions? Our military had to restructure to work around this. We both know of old rage reports writing about when our military used to punish desertion and not following orders severely. At that time, our military was at their lowest, and the following decades when they used At that time, our military was at their lowest, and the following decades when they used benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines. At that time, our military was at their lowest, and the following decades when they used benzodiazepines to block fear stimuli didn't make it any better. Hell, it made most of our units at the time be unable to function without it, Azael yelled, annoyed. Hell, it made most of our units at the time be unable to function without it, Azael yelled, annoyed, back at Lucan with a scowl. That is why I must know why, Lucan said with gritted teeth. That is why I must know why, Lucan said with gritted teeth as he yelled, slamming his fist down on the console's frame. I need to know. I have to know why. Why can this thing do it? Why can someone inferior by comparison to us do it? It is clear it knows self-preservation, the importance of keeping alive, but it... Oh. All right, let's... da da do. Mm, mm, da do do. Ha 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 ha. Dee dee. Oh do 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 do. Mm-hmm. The joys of being underslept. um, just saw a picture of the Kaaba, but it turns out it's cake. Not all construction work is equally enjoyable. For example, enlarging a drill hole is boring, but fastening pieces of metal together is riveting. That is going straight into my meme folder. Construction. Oh, lovely. There was a shooting here. Do. When someone asks you what's wrong, but nothing's wrong, that's just how your face looks. No, 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 dee da 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 do. No, no, no. Hi. No, no, no. Na 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 da dee. Dee 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 dee. Oh, do do. Ba da 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 da. Dee doo be dee 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 dee. Mana. Ah. 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 Da 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 do. No, no, no. Ha 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 ho. No, no, no. Ha 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 ho. Mm, 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 mm. E. So. Ba da 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 da. Do dee 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 dee. Dee dee dee. Dee 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 dee. Ba da da. Oh do. Ah. uh. Da 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 do do do. Dee 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 dee. Aha. Yeah. Da 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 do do. Ah. Do ba da 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 dee dee dee. Aha. Ah. Ah. Ba da do. Papa. um. Ah. Ah. Do do do. No, no. Da dee boo boo. Ah. Dee 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 dee. Oh, do, do. Ba-bum. um. So, for random thought, Switch 2. People excited, or do you think it's just going to be a Wii U again? I've got people thinking that it might be a Wii U. Papa. Yoink. Do do do. Ha ha. Dee boo boo doo doo dee dee. Dee doo dee 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 dee. Aha. Oh. 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 Aha. Oh no. Dee. Na 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 da do. Pew. Oh no 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 do. Mm-hmm. Oh. Oh. Mm-hmm. 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 Na na no. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Mm-hmm. Dee 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 dee. Ah ha oh ah oh do do dee ba-dum. All right, enough procrastination. Back to work. Importance of keeping alive, but it. Ah, I need to figure it out, Lucan said, lifting his trembling hand up, a bruise already forming on the part of his hand that slammed on the metal frame. As they spoke, the live feed began showing William exiting the building, the creak of the door from the transmission getting their attention. The guard and the scientist grew silent as they watched transfixed, while William began looking about the courtyard. The guard and the scientist grew silent. They watched transfixed, began looking about the courtyard. The guard and the scientist grew silent as they watched transfixed. The guard and the scientist grew silent as they watched transfixed while William began looking about the courtyard. Soon enough, the fighting ensued, and a fight it was. The native was proving more than capable with the suit, maneuvering with it rather elegantly, even, at least by military standards. Ah, truly unique. It seems to be doing rather well, even when outnumbered. It seems the operatives are even taking higher positions for an advantage shooting. Nope. Even when outnumbered. Seems the operatives are even taking higher positions for an advantage when shooting. Truly unique. It seems to be doing rather well, even when outnumbered. It seems the operatives are even taking higher positions for an advantage when shooting, Lucan said with his minimal tactical knowledge. Lucan said with his minimal tactical knowledge. Lucan spoke with his minimal tactical knowledge. Azael, though, noticed the finer details of the situation. Yes, but something is weird. The one shooting above had delayed reactions. Hold on. He is backing away from the edge, but I can hear shooting. As Azael tried to figure out what was going on, her focus got shattered. The silence of the cockpit exploded with a soul-wrenching symphony of panicked screams, echoing in on themselves with misery. An unholy organ symphony of sheer terror was now forcing the two Angelans to shield their hearing organs. What is with this sudden transmission? Azael yelled as she approached the console, her eyes hastily scanning the display. Her golden eyes widened as she noticed the source of Her golden eyes widened as she noticed the source as being from the near. Her golden eyes widened as she noticed the source was from nearby the location of the RF suit, but with a -0.2 designation. It's coming from the evacuees! The sword! Lucan took a moment to bounce back from the recoil of the sudden sound. He began focusing on the display, and as he listened to the explanation, he then looked back to the live feed and the biometric readouts coming from William's suit. It is hearing the transmission, too. It figured out what is happening. Its system is being flooded with adrenaline and noradrenaline. It's producing so much. Its system is being flooded with. It's producing so much. It's just. The suit's system is increasing its replicated heartbeat to match previous neural-recorded patterns. As Lucan observed the numbers, they kept increasing higher, much higher than the readouts said the body should be able to handle. By the Emperor! Azael watched as William struggled against the operative that restrained him, listening to his own tormented screams, the begging whines that his angry voice would die out into. Warning signs started popping up all over the biometric readouts, and still they watched. They watched the horror unfold. William had freed himself from his propulsion system. William had freed himself, and his propulsion system got overcharged to fly him. Or more accurately, William had freed himself and his propulsion system. William had freed himself, and his propulsion system got overcharged to fly him, or more accurately, toss him high enough to reach the secondary operative. The following scuffle and fall were all on display as well. Their eyes couldn't part from the display, showing how the soldier's head got erased on the stone surface. The following scuffle and fall were all on display as well. Their eyes couldn't part from the display, showing how the soldier's head got erased on the stone surface. It got repeatedly bashed on and held against. It was like a piece of metal getting reduced to visceral ribbons on one end of their... It was like a piece of metal getting reduced to visceral ribbons on one of their industrial grinders. Lucan recommenced his note-taking, also instructing the ship's systems through the console to record all the suit's data further. It is forcing the suit to match its neuro impulses, instead of reading its body bio... Also instructing the ship's system. Lucan recommenced his note-taking, also instructing the ship's systems through the console to record all the suit's data further. It is forcing the suit to match its neuro impulses, instead of reading its body's biometric parameters. The synthetic heart is pumping blood so fast through its veins, it had to reinforce the main arteries with extra nanofilament, but it can't keep up. The damage is being done all over the venous system at once. Muscle oxygenation has peaked, internal body temperature rising. It has natural cooling systems, but they would fail without suit assistance. It's maximizing output, but how can it override the suit's organ replication parameters? The military's programmers had those hard-coded when reading our genetic... Military's program. How can... It is maximizing output. But how can it override the suit's organ replication parameters? The military's programmers had those hard-coded when reading our genetic print to avoid the life support overloading the soldier's body and endangering them, Azael said as she watched with an awe that petrified her. Ah, well said. The parameters are hard-coded to fit our biological records, but the suit didn't read the pilot's DNA matrix as Angelon. The limits were never implemented in the first place, Lucan replied quickly, elucidating the minor mystery. The dust had cleared, and William kept staring at the headless corpse he now held, his eyes shaking in his orbits. He kept coughing up blood, his helmet irrigating it as quickly as possible, recycling it back into his body. As he heard rocks tumble to his head, he turned his head... As he heard rocks tumble, he turned his head, peering at the other fallen angel that seemed to simply stare him down. He could feel his body and blood boil as the echoes of his family and friends screaming echoed in his mind. There was only darkness around. Nothing else mattered, except for that foul being. Words had left his mind. Reason had been eradicated. This feeling. He felt this fury before, on the battlefield when he witnessed the enemy using civilians tied to tower shields as meat shields to avoid. He screamed at the sight of the fallen angel as he reached at his own head and feeling the maw-like helmet. His clawed fingers reached at the edges of it, and as he pulled, the suit following his motions ripped itself open, transforming the toothy maws into a raised collar around his head, with the teeth protruding upwards and around. William's brown locks were darkened with the crimson maroon of his own blood, as they draped themselves over the spiked collar akin to bloody rags, dripping his life essence onto his back. Zadel looked him in the eyes through his helmet's HUD, the contact making his body shudder even worse than the scream did. Stubbed rail pistol raised, his limbs shook, his aim clearly off. As the two engaged in this visual contest of wills, Dangalon was the first to break. Zadel stepped back, as any person would when encountering a predator in their path. That simple movement was enough for William to start his deathly march forward. Big, thudding steps resounded onto the ground, akin to the heavy, low ticking of a clock before hitting midnight. Big, big, thudding steps. Big, thudding steps resounded onto the ground, akin to the heavy, low ticking of a clock before hitting midnight. It exposed its own head, yet it is not afraid, Lucan said once more, feeling as if he is repeating himself. It exposed its own head, yet it is not afraid, Lucan said once more, feeling as if he is repeating himself, just hoping that by doing so he'd come to a conclusion. His golden eyes peered to the side at Azael. Are you starting to understand me at all? About how I'm feeling? Why I am feeling the need to answer that why that is gnawing at the back of my mind? Azael did not respond, instead watching transfixed onto the holographic screen's feed. A single solemn nod is all that the xenobiologist got as a reply in return, before he returned his own eyes to watch the situation. Zadel found himself struggling to move back, but as his senses managed to return to him, he stared proper. Zadel found himself struggling to move back, but as his senses managed to return to him, he started properly backpedaling to put distance between himself and the native. This retreating movement paused and resumed as the Anglon soldier stopped to shoot before continuing backwards. William wasn't fazed by the hellbolts anymore. By sheer instinct, without even a prayer in mind, his left forearm By sheer instinct, without even a prayer in mind, his left forearm manifested a spiked buckler of red light, and he'd simply held it to his head. His forearm, diagonally placed in front of his face, still let him keep visual contact with his enemy using his left eye. Zadel's shots either ricocheted off the shield, grazed his target when his hand shook too hard, or if he hit, it was worse than. Zadel's shots either ricocheted off the shield, grazed his target when his hand shook too hard, or if he hit, it was worse when he thought he hit it. The round broke part of the armor and showed the wound inside bleeding, only for the projectile to be pushed out and the bleeding wound to keep pouring while the armor closed around it. The primitive native had no reaction to the shots that managed to land. He kept repeating the motions as if stuck in a loop, only realizing he started dry firing with no charge after doing it 3 more times. With a gasp of realization, he then turned on his With a gasp of realization, he then turned on his heel. Heel! Okay, yes. With a gasp of realization, he then turned on his heel and was about to attempt a proper run to give himself more space to reload. But the Anglon was not used to the environment surrounding him entirely. As he passed through thick brush, a lifted root caught the front of his foot, and akin to a clasping manacle for a damned prisoner, it brought him down. No, 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 no! Is all Zadel's. No, 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 no! is all Zadel thought while hyperventilating in his helmet. He scrambled to reload on the ground, and the Xeno soldier did so successfully. Still, as he was just about to get his footing under him to continue his reversed advance, a hit to his side knocked him onto his back. With a grunt and a yell as he got tossed on his back, Zadel let off a rail rifle shot, trying to arm. With a grunt and a yell as he got tossed on his back, Zadel let off a rail rifle shot, trying to aim for the upper side of center mass. "Die, you primitive scum!" he yelled with hatred, the visceral image of his decapitated colleague and friend shooting through his mind like lightning. He was intent to do the same thing to the bastard creature that robbed his friend. He was intent to do the same thing to the bastard creature that robbed his friend of his life. The shot rang out with its usual lightning-like electric discharge, the piece of metal that got shot going at an unbelievable speed, speeding out the barrel as a light-up blur. Still, the missing sound of a body thud sent a sense of impending doom deep inside Zadel's gut. William stood over him, a deep, bleeding groove. William stood over him, a deep, bleeding groove going like a trench-style graze along his cheekbone and along the side of his head above the ear. His head was leaning above the ear, not the year, and along the side of... William stood over him, a deep, bleeding groove going like a trench-style graze along his cheekbone and along the side of his head above the ear. His head was leaning just slightly off the shot's trajectory, but even that graze it was treated like nothing. William stood over him, a deep, bleeding groove going like a trench-style graze along his cheekbone and along the side of his head above the ear. His head was leaning just slightly off the shot's trajectory, but even that graze was treated like nothing, despite the gushing blood now dripping down the side of his head and neck. His hands grabbed at the rail pistol, the red claws sinking into Zadel's hands, the wrenching of the gun along with the hard light finger dagger digging through his armor and into his flesh, ripped a scream out of his throat. Zadel kept trying to maintain hold of the gun, but the frantic movements and breathing made it clear he had lost any focus left. His mind flashed between the current struggle and past memories. The barrack room that he'd been sharing with Cassell for the past 3 years, how they turned it into a bit of a home for themselves, the additional privileges they worked together to earn. Zad! Zad! Hello! Command Center to Private Zadel! Cassell said as he lightly tapped his colleague on the side of his face. Casey, sorry, my mind's been all over the place. The last training simulation has been tough. We nearly won, Zadel said with a slightly defeated tone. Hey, we had a really good streak. But you can't win them all, yeah? Don't worry too much about that. We've been doing really good. How about a game of Space Dash? Cassell said with his usual at-ease demeanor, as he kindly extended one of the 2 controllers. Zadel could remember himself, smiling as he sat down in the lean low. Zadel could remember himself smiling as he sat down on the lean-back, low-height comfort seat he had in his room. Yeah, we did promise to finish it last deployment, he replied with an ease express. Yeah, we did promise to finish it last deployment, he replied with an at-ease expression, as he then took the controller and leaned his head back on the chair's headrest. one last time. William had wrenched the hellbolt crossbow from the fallen angel's hand. William had wrenched the hellbolt crossbow from the fallen. What the frick's a fallen? William had wrenched the hellbolt crossbow from the fallen angel's hands, tossing it aside. The furious knight then dropped down on his knees, straddling the fallen divine's chest while his knees pinned his arms against the ground. With both hands, he then grasped the heretic's head, claws digging into its sides and leaking blue blood as he proceeded to lift and slam it back down, each thud accompanied by a roared growl, as the repeated motion claws digging into its furious knight then dropped. The furious knight then dropped down on his knees, straddling the fallen divine's chest, while his knees pinned his arms against the ground. With both hands, he then grasped the heretic's head, claws digging into its sides and leaking blue blood, as he proceeded to lift and slam it back down, each thud accompanied by a roared growl, as the repeating motion proceeded faster and faster with each hit. By the time his assault slowed, a few minutes had passed. The back of Zadel's head caved in considerably, blue blood and viscera coming out in blotches out of the cavity. William's grip eventually loosened as his hands shook, crimson light claws disengaging. He then stood up, only to crumple a few steps to the side of the Ankelon. Zadel's body twitched and span. Twitched and spammed light on the ground. What the hell? Zadel's body twitched and spasmed on the ground, his helmet recording one last thing before going silent entirely. We did promise. With that, the calm night took over the entirety of the Phallus Keep and its surroundings. Only silence was left to fill the dead air. All right, that is Space Crusader successfully recorded. And hey, I called it. I said 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes and 43 seconds. Not bad. Let's get that out. There, we want about a half second of silence, and that was not the correct do first. Effect, noise reduction, get noise profile, select all, effect, noise reduction, apply. Oh, I had the privacy screen on the entire time. Oh, whoops, daisy. How to do it, do dee dee dee. Ah. That's perfect. Save as CL. To save. Cool. Not what I wanted, but that's fine. Compressor. Effect. Limiter. And export. 1, 2, 3. Space Crusader. Space Crusader. 08. Finale. Let's go ahead and claim our reward here. And get some diamonds. We need to get all the way up to store. Outfits. 360. So 30 more diamonds, and then we can buy the bundle. Buy the whole bundle. Big bundle. Close that out. That is done. We can close you. All right, and we will go for Shotgun Projects, Narration, Space Crusader. Select Space Crusader 08. Start. Open. Narration. Space Crusader, Space Crusader. Wait, no, no. Bubble. Not shovel. Bubble. There, UI, open. Now we go Space Crusader, Space Crusader. Space Crusader.m4a. Perfect. It's there. And now we get to do the joys of snipping. Yay. Hey. This pulled up. 2. Three. Four. Five. Six. Seven. Eight. It's not slash. 8. House. Nine. Ten. 11. 12. Somehow tried skipping 12. There's 13. Fourteen. 15. And wrap it up with 16. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Perfect. And there is the save. All right. All of you. 16. There, and ripple delete. Perfect. To go there. Okay. So yeah, we're looking at 21 minutes. That seems about right. That's what we're expecting. Okay.
And observing the events unfolding at the location where his assistant was this whole time. Although the viewing had to be done from their native allies' perspective, all proved too valuable and insightful to pass up. The rescue team had arrived at the crash site a while back, comprised mainly of a pilot, 2 medics, and 3 infantry soldiers. 2 out of the latter had quickly departed using a land vehicle that had been brought with them, most likely to fulfill the orders given by Otto. While the xenobiologist kept taking notes on his datapad in the crashed ship's cockpit. As Ideal entered, the various wounds on her body now closed up using biofoam that simulates cell repair. They are now tending to Cabal, and the 2 that took off to retrieve Rasheen. They had standard kits and were armed with rail rifles. Really think this native, William, will he be able to take them? Huh? I hope your manic bouts would have finished by now. But you're rather always delusional, or now did it get worse? You've come here to what? Insult me more than you usually do? The wager has been made, regardless. Retracting myself now is not an option. It is either a chance of winning, or surrender for an immediate loss. Regardless, the data we are collecting right now is invaluable, both from the point of view of my usual studies and other interests. We can sit coldly as you watch the life, seeing the native as actually communicate with demonstrations could understand, and then proceeding the evacuation zones. Your interests, you might as well spell it out. Military interest was clearly one of the first things that popped to your mind. You haven't been hiding that at all before. As you'll continue as you leave yourself guessing what the cockpit was, arms crossed. You think that'd be the only one? Expectable. Run to the bronze view. Oh, I do envy the simpler ways of living. Logan said with a chuckle, as he multitasked between dishing out insults and keeping up with the report. As Ideal, being extremely annoyed with that demeaning statement, does not give Logan a less polite piece of her mind, until a loud slapping voice came from the report. 2 megalots that would unfolding scene between William and Godwin.
Alright, you know what? I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna get myself some soup. I like some soup. It's a sour soup, but delicious. Alright, see you in a sec. There we are. That's in the and the microwave heating up. Let's do another bit here.
Gave pieces of suit to that one in the form of a weapon. After slapping it? As Ideal asked, confused, yet curious. I've been keeping track of chemicals its body releases into its own system. Until now, a large amount of it was adrenaline and cortisol. It seems ever since it got here, endorphins and dopamine have been trickling in. Information from Machine did not help with reducing the levels of the first. It's not its brain activity involving the hippocampus and stuff. Might be someone close to it from its past. Interesting. Logan mumbled as he kept on tapping away at his notes. So damn interesting to you. That kind of piece of the suit now needs to be retrieved at a later date. And we'll be interfering more? As Ideal grumbled, exasperated at this point by the mess of this whole operation had become. You realize all the research we had been doing until now was from a relative distance, yes? Always putting precaution and not risking the alternate course of how their world works, right? Well, the moment we crashed and William came to the impact area. Even if you like it or not, you will now be a part of this world, even if momentarily. Plus, now I can observe from a much better point of view, from that of a being that lived his whole life here. Exclaimed with excitement in his voice. Is there anything major to even learn from this? What's there to gain from observation of I don't know what to call their designation running about. An attempt at an evacuation? Azael said while staring at the screen himself. The fact that they even know how to duel is impressive. Have you watched closely? William's first concern was not how to strategize against the enemy, or go to fight them. But under the impression of fighting stronger enemies, it chose to instead help the others at this location to escape. The fighting hidden roots already built into the place. Not only that, but it gave part of the armor to one of them. One it seems to have a close relationship with. Possibly familial. And do you understand the potential we are seeing here? Azael listened, and her golden eyes kept staring at the live feed, before looking about the cockpit, unfocused, as if staring at a visible horizon in contemplation. Iris moved as her pupils focused in the realization. Previous research we had confirmed their brutality, their religious belief, and generalized information on social hierarchies they had, as well as the most commonly met behaviors. All of that focused on the bigger picture, on how things at large are, Azael said, trying to verbalize her thoughts.
All right. Should be warmed up. Be right back. Good soup. Where are you? I'm at soup. What do you mean you're at soup? I'm at soup.
Yes. We've been thinking of them as primitive and barbaric when looking from a distance. How exactly are they in close personal situations? This is the first time we see it properly. I have a myriad of observations written down based solely on their way of interacting with one another. The fact that William is prioritizing the other's safety over gaining a better chance of fighting by using increased numbers. Did you notice that some were unwilling to leave him behind, without speaking, simply by analyzing body language and reading the situation? They were opposing leaving. They knew a threat much stronger than them was coming, yet some were willing to stand against it. What do our soldiers do whenever we have a dire situation on the battlefield? Lucas said as the fervor of his speech dimmed into a changing tone. Units prioritize mission completion and life preservation. It's standard procedure. Azael responded with a tone, as if it were simple common knowledge. Erroneous. Our units prioritize individual self-preservation, and even mission completion is secondary based on a case study data sheet I've read about. What's ironic is that statistically working together should increase overall survival in most scenarios, or a minor sacrifice can mitigate a major loss. These are all things discussed between our war analysts, Lucas said as he turned to make eye contact. His expression somewhat disappointed. So, what? You want someone to lay their life willingly, or to go into suicide missions? Our military had to restructure to work around this. We both know of old-age reports writing about when our military used to punish desertion and not following orders severely. At that time, our military was at their lowest, and the following decades when they used benzodiazepines to block fear stimuli didn't make it any better. Hell, it made most of our units at the time be unable to function without it! Azael yelled, annoyed back and looking at the scout. That is why I must know why! Lucas said with gritted teeth as he yelled, slamming his fist down on the console's frame. I need to know. I have to know why! Why can this thing do it? Why can someone inferior by comparison to us do it? It's clear it knows self-preservation, the importance of keeping alive, but it... I need to figure it out, Lucas said, lifting his trembling hand up. A bruise already forming on part of his hand that slammed on them. As they spoke, live feed began showing William exiting the building. Breaking the door from the transmission dimmed their attention. Bard and the scientist grew silent, as they watched transfixed while William began looking about the courtyard. Soon enough, the fight ensued, and a fight it was. Native was proving more than capable with the suit, maneuvering within rather elegantly, even, at least by military standards. Truly unique. It seems to be doing rather well, even when outnumbered. Yet it seems the operators are taking higher positions for an advantage when shooting. Lucas spoke with his minimal technical knowledge. Azael, though, noticed the finer details of the situation. Yes, but something is weird. One shooting above had delayed reactions. Hold on, he is backing away from the edge. I can hear shooting. As Azael tried to figure out what was going on, her focus got shattered. The silence of the cockpit exploded with a soul-wrenching symphony of panic screams, echoing in on themselves with misery. An unholy organ symphony of sheer terror was now forcing two ambulance to shield the rear. You're shooting. As Azael tried to figure out what was going on, focus got shattered. The silence of the cockpit exploded with a soul-wrenching symphony of panicked screams, echoing in on themselves with misery. An unholy organ symphony of sheer terror, now forcing the two Angolams to shield their hearing organs. Oh, what is with this sudden transmission? Azael yelled, as she approached the console, her eyes hastily scanning the display. Her golden eyes widened as she noticed the source was from nearby the location of the RF suit, but with a -0.2 designation. It's coming from the evacuees! The sword!
Right.
Luke took a moment to bounce back from the recoil of the sudden sound. He began focusing on the display, and as he listened to the explanation, he then looked back at the live feed and the biometric readouts coming from William's suit. This is here in the transmission, too. It figured out what was happening. Its system was being flooded with adrenaline and noradrenaline. It's producing so much. The system is increasing its replicated heartbeat to match previous neural recorded patterns. As Luke observed the numbers, they kept increasing higher, much higher than the readouts that the body should be able to handle. Like the Emperor! As Ayo watched as William struggled against the operative screen, listening to his own tormented screams, the baby whines and his angry voice would die out into. Green signs started popping up all over the biometric readouts, and still they watched. They watched the horror unfold. William had freed himself, and his propulsion system got overcharged to fly him, or more accurately, awesome, high enough to reach the secondary arm. Following scuffle and fall were all on display as well. Their eyes stood apart from the display showing how the soldier's head got raised on stone surface. It got repeatedly bashed on and held against. It's like a piece of metal getting reduced to visceral ribbons on one of their industrial grinders. Lucan recommenced his note, also instructing the ship's systems through the console to record all the suit's data further. It's forcing the suit to match its neural impulses instead of reading its body's biometric parameters. The synthetic heart is pumping blood so fast through its veins, it has to reinforce the main arteries with extra nanofilament. But it can't keep up. The damage is being done all over the venous system at once. Also, oxygenation is peaked, internal body temperature rising, and its natural cooling systems. They would fail without suit assistance. It is maximizing output. But how can it override the suit's hormone replication parameters? The military's programmers have this hard-coded when reading our genetic print to avoid life support overloading the soldier's body and endangering them. As Eel said as she watched with awe and measurement. How well said. The parameters are hard-coded to fit our biological records. But the suit didn't read the balance DNA matrix as angle. The limits were never implemented in the first place. Luke replied quickly, elucidating by a mystery. Just it clear, and William kept staring at the headless corpse he now. His eyes shaking his orbits. He kept coughing up blood, his helmet irrigating it as quickly as possible. Recycling it back into his body. As he heard rocks tumble, he turned his head, peering at the other fallen angel that seemed to simply staring down. He could feel his body and blood boil as the echoes of his family and friends screaming echoed in his mind. There was only darkness around. Nothing else mattered, except for that foul being. Words had left his mind. Reason had been a matter. His feeling. Felt this fury before. On the battlefield, he witnessed the enemy using civilians tied to tower shields as weak shields to avoid. He screamed at the sight of the fallen angel as he reached at his own head and feeling the maw-like help. His clawed fingers reached at the edges of it, and as he pulled, the suit following his motions ripped itself open, transforming the toothy maws into a raised collar around his head, with the teeth protruding upwards and around. William's brown locks were darkened with crimson maroon. They draped themselves over the spiked column and the bloody rounds, dripping his life essence on his neck. Adele looked him in the eyes through his helmet's HUD, the contact making his body shudder even worse than the scream. Scott railed his raised. His lips shook as he bitterly off.
Oh, you muted my mic. Oops. Whatever. That's fine. Yeah, we're wrapping the stream up. No one was here, but that's not a surprise. It was Sunday evening. People had things to do. So, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Bye, YouTube right now.